Building muscle is a slow process. While you can lose a decent amount of fat in a month, it takes several months to see significant muscle growth changes. But there are ways we can enhance our muscle growth results. Just because muscle growth may not occur quickly does not mean we can't push our limits and have ambitious goals. So in today's video, I will discuss 3 fundamental tips that you can use to build muscle faster. These are tips I've used personally as well to elevate my fitness progress in the past year. You likely already are familiar with many of the basic principles of muscle growth, like having to create progressive overload, being consistent in your training, eating enough protein, and more. But oftentimes the devil is in the details. If you want to further enhance your muscle growth progress, you also need to look beyond the basics of muscle growth, which is what we will do in this video. Without any further ado, let's dive into the first tip, which is training each muscle group more frequently in a week. If I look at the training programs of many beginner and intermediate trainees, I see they are mostly doing body part splits in which they train each muscle group once per week. While a body part split is not inherently bad, I would argue that most people can benefit from grouping different muscle groups together into a single workout to train each muscle group more frequently in a week. I want you to think about the following. Say that you train your chest with 20 sets per week and we do all of these 20 sets in one workout. What will happen after set 10 or 12 of that chest training session? Your chest will likely be quite fatigued and you can't push as hard anymore on the last 2 or 3 exercises of your workout. So instead, if you divide this chest volume over something like 2 upper body days, then you will be able to train your chest with higher quality sets. You will perform better in your chest exercises because they are not all crammed into one workout. The improved performance you get from splitting your training volume over multiple training days will then also result in better muscle and strength development. This helps explain why research indicates that training a muscle with higher frequency is beneficial for strength gain. So I suggest that most people train each muscle group about 2 to 3 times per week, and this can be structured in many different ways. If you train 3 times per week, something like 3 times full body or full body and upper lower training are good options. If you train 4 times per week, you can do an upper lower split or push-pull legs with full body, or even upper lower and full body twice. With 5 training sessions, you can do upper lower twice with a full body session or push-pull legs with upper lower. You get the idea. There are many ways you can split your training program to train each muscle group 2 to 3 times per week, but definitely give the higher training frequency a try if you're currently doing a body part split. The second muscle building tip is related to nutrition, and that is somewhat distributing your protein intake throughout the day. It's clear that protein plays an important role in muscle growth, and the most important factor when it comes to protein and muscle growth is your total daily protein intake. If you don't consume enough protein per day, you're simply not providing all the building blocks your body needs to support muscle growth. Because if we think about what protein actually is, a protein is a chain of amino acids, and the amino acids you consume are used in the creation of new muscle proteins, which is how muscle growth occurs. From the research, we know that consuming around 1.6 grams per kilogram of your body weight is a good aim for muscle growth. But next to just considering your total daily protein intake, it's also worth looking into how you distribute this protein intake throughout the day if you're looking to get that extra muscle growth benefit. Muscle growth can be boiled down to protein turnover rate. If your body synthesizes more muscle proteins than it breaks down in a day, you have gained muscle. We know from research that distributing your protein intake into say 3 to 6 daily protein servings helps you create a greater positive protein balance. So instead of just having 1 or 2 high protein meals in a day, try to have a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 6 protein servings on a daily basis. This can look like having a high protein breakfast and then a protein shake in the afternoon and finishing the day off with a high protein dinner. Try not to complicate this, stay close to your current nutritional habits. Just aim to incorporate more protein with some of the eating moments you have to get that protein frequency up throughout the day. Now the third muscle building tip is about managing stress and having relaxation time. I mentioned in the title of this video that this third tip will surprise you, so you must be shocked right now. But all jokes aside, the reason this might be surprising to some people is there's oftentimes this hardcore mindset associated with muscle growth. Don't get me wrong, muscle growth definitely takes hard work and persistence, but we can only work our hardest if you are well recovered and good, both from a mental and physical perspective. It might sound hardcore to only sleep 5 hours and wake up at 4 AM to go ahead and do a leg session, but the individual that takes 2 hours of extra sleep and wakes up at 6 AM will actually get more out of that leg training session. Also, next to sleep, psychological stress can impact your muscle growth progress too. A 2014 study by the University of Texas found that chronic psychological stress impairs muscle recovery, so you cannot train as hard on your next session. There's also research to suggest that high psychological stress makes it more likely for someone to skip a workout. I know it's easy for me to say just stress less, but that's not how the human mind works. As a business owner myself and someone that works hard with long hours to serve my people, I can tell from personal experience how powerful it is when you prioritize your recovery. I can't look into your schedule, of course, but do your best to have daily moments of relaxation to let your body and mind come to rest, whether that's reading a book, meeting a friend, or even just doing nothing and chilling. Taking care of yourself will allow you to perform at a higher level, and every action you take in your training and outside of training will be of higher quality. So far, we have discussed 3 muscle building tips, and at the start of this video, I also promised you 3 tips, but as you're used of me, I always do my best to exceed your expectations. Keep this in mind when you're rocking with Coach Munir. Everything is top tier. With that said, let's head into the 4th bonus tip, and that is about not being afraid to eat more calories when muscle growth is the goal. I often speak about being in a calorie deficit for fat loss, which means that you consume fewer calories than your body expends in a day. But a calorie deficit is not the destination. We use a calorie deficit as a temporary tool to achieve a fat loss objective. Eventually, there should be enough fat loss to transition out of a calorie deficit and start eating more to properly fuel your body, especially if muscle growth is the goal. Muscle growth requires energy. We want to be able to eat satisfying meals so that you are energized in your training sessions and can recover properly too. If you train hard, have more carbs to fuel performance, and consume more calories in general, you're able to better support anabolic processes related to muscle gain. I will link a video on lean bulking in the description below that goes into more detail on this topic. But the moral of the story is that muscle growth requires energy. Don't limit your muscle growth potential by constantly chasing fat loss. And that was all for today's video. I hope you now got some good ideas on how you can further improve your muscle growth results by using some of these tips. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Also, if you found this video helpful, then definitely leave me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and I will see you in that next video.